And now, your host, Couch Tomato!
Hey, I'm Couch Tomato and I'm joined by
Hulk.
Welcome to Stuff for Movie Buffs, and today we're talking
Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
All right, before we get started, huge thanks to our newest patron this week on Patreon, Stephen Osborne. By the way, Stephen is one of our biggest fans on Facebook, and now he's literally our biggest Patreon supporter. He contributed a $10 pledge to our Patreon, which helps us pump out extra content and helps us fund our podcast. So huge thanks to Stephen. As a $10 patron, he gets access to a private group chat where we could discuss movies, trailers, TV shows, and movies that suck and movies that we love. So we'll be kicking off the group chat this January. So if you'd like to join Steven, Hulk, and myself, visit our Patreon and support. And also share your taste in movies with us on the private chat. So that'll be awesome. Hey, by the way, we're going to get into some spoiler heavy talk. If you haven't seen the movie and you want to turn off the podcast, save it for later. Go ahead and download it, save it for later. But we're going to talk about spoilers. We're not going to do a spoiler free and then a non-spoiler review. That'd just be too time consuming. So we're going to talk about spoilers. So in 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, so let's jump into it. This week, the highly anticipated Star Wars: The Last Jedi was released. And it looks like it's on pace to either tie or just be a little bit over under, give or take 2 million.
Yeah.
Versus the current record for the largest domestic box office opening, correct?
Yeah, it's it fell short of the Thursday opening, and then so I haven't really checked last Friday's numbers, but so far it's like a little short of Force Awakens. And
FYI, we're recording this 11:25 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Who knows what it's going to do Saturday? I just know, like, if it's in the ballpark, and it looks like Friday they were reporting that it could be anywhere from 202 to 207. So it's really dependent on how it does today. But who cares? It's gonna break that record, and then Infinity Wars is gonna end up breaking its record, and then you got Jurassic World Part 2 right around the corner, and who knows what that's going to do. But let's talk about the movie in itself. So let's get into some likes and dislikes. Let's be polite first and share some things that we liked about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. So off rip, what are some things that you liked about the film, Hope?
First thing, I really enjoyed this film. But the number one,
wasn't sure. we didn't really share our opinions prior to the show, so I'm going in cold. So nice to hear that you liked it. Continue.
Yeah, I really liked the way they did Kylo and Rey's dynamic. Not to spoil anything, but the way they used the Force between them, like they hinted at it in the trailers, and it's like when we did the predictions episode, like we tried to predict certain things, but I was happy that I was wrong in a way, just because the way Rian Johnson portrayed it in the film, like I really dug that, like I really felt it, and I don't know, just that whole dynamic. I really enjoyed those characters because, like, for Force Awakens, I really love Force Awakens, and then just seeing them again evolve with that relationship, I really enjoyed that.
And let's stick on Rey and Kylo. I know there's some things that I want to talk about later.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of revelations that came up in the film between those two. But I think a lot of people expected this to be a retread of Empire.
Yeah.
In some cases, it was a mixture of Empire and Return of the Jedi. It just has some similar elements, but they hid that very well because you don't see it off of first glance. However, I expected the relationship between Luke and Rey to be like the marquee matchup, but I was wrong. It was Rey and Kylo, so I love that dynamic as well. She feels for him, he feels for her. They're similar in a lot of cases. One by choice. Rey doesn't have a family, to where Kylo is away from his family mainly because of his training. Yeah. So I think she feels sorry for him, and he wants somebody to care about, and they gravitate towards one another. So I thought that was cool. So I like this movie as well. Now, I had heard some rumblings that this movie was going to be horrible, and I panicked. Yeah,
me too.
Yeah,
me too.
But then one thing that I realized, I share a private chat with some of my frat brothers, and one thing that I noticed, the folks who love Force Awakens seem to like this film.
Exactly.
And the ones who hated Force Awakens hated The Last Jedi.
Yep.
So yeah, so this was the case for me. I like Force Awakens, but because I was underwhelmed with Rogue One, I went in with lowered expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, Disney isn't really too focused on gaining a new audience. They want to retain the audience that they have, which is okay.
Yeah.
But I didn't like Rogue One. So I was like, I went in with zero expectations. And because of that, I wasn't expecting this to be the best movie ever or even a worthy sequel. And for that, I was pleasantly surprised. So, so let's talk about some characters that we loved in the film. Do me a favor and save Rey and Kylo for last.
Okay.
But another one who got a lot of spotlight in this film who didn't really get much shine, and two characters in particular, both Poe and Luke.
Yeah.
Luke got to say words this time around, and Poe actually got more screen time. And it looks like they're positioning him for like his own and
spinoff or something.
Yeah. I think the person who fell short the most was Finn because of like they
Poe.
gave so much.
Yep.
Yeah, and it probably would have been better if they left Finn unconscious for that first half instead of having him do what he did, which I didn't even like. There's a lot of stuff with
Me either. That
Finn,
was
I didn't like. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but let's try to say some nice stuff about Poe. You either like it or you hate it. I think he's going to be a nice leading man for a worthy spinoff if that's what they're trying to do. How did you like his art?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good actor. Like, he just brought so much energy to each line, to each like scene that he was in. And it's like, if you look at it, it's like he doesn't really have like a lot of, major, like he has like a lot of like these hidden moments where it's just like, okay, he brought something to this scene. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, especially with breaks from, because you're jumping from, Rey with Luke, Kylo with his people. You got
him,
Finn.
You got Poe with Leia and Poe with the Jurassic Park lady.
Yeah.
And you got Snoke with General, and you got the General with Kylo. It's a lot of stuff going on in this film.
Exactly. So it's like whenever Poe came on, it was just like he brought the energy back to the film, which I really appreciated.
And another thing, this all takes like between this and Force Awakens, all of this stuff happened like with it makes it seem like it happened within a matter of like, this is 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks. Like Han just got buried probably like 2 weeks ago. So It's like, oh wait, I went to go check on Luke and they're coming back. Oh, guess what? Han just died like 2 weeks ago. I thought that was cool because I thought this was going to be like she was on that planet with Luke for like a year or something. And I'm like, come on, man, don't do that. But I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So characters that took steps forward, agree or disagree. Poe took steps forward versus his role in Force Awakens. You had
definitely
Rey and Kylo took steps forward. Luke
definitely
obviously took a step forward.
Yep.
Two characters that took steps back, I felt, were Finn and Snoke.
Big time. All
right, so let's talk about those guys. Like Finn, let's talk about him first. Say what you got to say.
Nah, I was just like, just to piggyback, because I remember you mentioned I didn't like when he was on that planet. Like, that was like the thing that just made it start getting a little boring for me. It was just like, damn, this part is just a little too long. Like, I just didn't really like that whole dynamic, like him with Rose, I think that's her name. And it was just, I don't know, I didn't really buy that storyline too much. Like, it just really dragged for me.
Oh my God. And then, kudos to Disney for casting a black stormtrooper because it was so much backlash. But one thing about Disney, they get ridiculed a lot for their diversity in films, and it's a problem across Hollywood. But I would say sometimes they take steps to correct it.
Yeah.
And this was one of them. So you made it through Force Awakens. Okay, it became a box office juggernaut to where people were able to dismiss the fact that you cast a black stormtrooper. So people got over it. But then you start messing with the character to where it's like, okay, black men cheat. So you start adding that stereotype to them. I'm like, not even that, but I'm joking on that part. But whoa, it felt like they forgot to put him in this movie. And then they were like, oh, just hire one of the writers to just add in some extra scenes that don't make sense.
Yeah.
Because the scenes that they had, I don't know, PETA, I don't know if PETA secretly sponsored this movie, but I thought that was just whack. Like, oh, come on. Like, this is kind of like, you're pushing it here. I could tell it's a message going on, the cruelty to animal stuff. I get it. But I had heard about that before I watched the movie, but I'm like, they're exaggerating. It can't be that bad. But no, it was very preachy. And his whole storyline was whack. And his whole love affair was whack.
Yeah. And to me,
I'm not going to call it that because I don't know if the feelings are mutual, but I'm like, where did that come from? I'm like, this is weird. I'm like, that came out of nowhere, but I guess that's what we're doing. But go ahead.
Yeah, because like to me, it takes away from him and Rey a little bit. It takes away from like that emotion that I felt like, okay, they haven't seen each other in a while, and boom, now they're finally seeing each other. But then they put that story into it. So then also, if you notice at the end, yeah, because you see in the end like where she's unconscious, and then like he's covering her with the blanket, and then Rey just smiles at them like she doesn't look jealous. She just looks like, oh, I'm happy for you. You know what I'm saying? Like it just like, okay.
It looked like, I don't know about that. It looked like I'm not really sure what's going on. It looks like he's made a friend. I don't think it's anything more than that. But she also saw Kylo without his shirt on, so she probably got other thoughts on her mind.
Exactly. So it's just like,
and I don't know if she wants to go down that route, because speaking of Kylo, we'll talk about Kylo, then we'll talk about Snoke. I think Kylo was lying. There's a moment in this movie, yeah, when he
about the parents.
Yeah, I think he was lying. I think I don't think he knows. So it's a situation where he lied, but I think they're twins.
That's why I got the feeling, because to me, they never really explain why they're so close with the Force.
Exactly, and the fact that they're reading each other's minds like that,
yeah.
Like, come on, man. Even though Snoke said he took credit for that, I'm like, you can't take full credit for that, because even after you're gone, they still have that linear balanced, that connection between one another. I'm like, nah, those are twins, and that's like that twin. What do they call it? Twin intuition or something like that. And I'm like, it still doesn't. To me, it doesn't explain how. If Luke isn't aware, because I thought something happened with Force memories being wiped, so it has to be a situation where Leia did something. Something happened where it's like, I think the original plans. This is what I think. I think the original plan for Rey's parents, Abrams had an idea, and I think Johnson dismissed it. And he's like, I'll let Abrams do whatever he want to do in the third film. So, and also because they killed Han in the first one, and no one knew what was going to happen to Leia. I mean, she's dead in real life.
Yeah. To
where it's like, man, that just ruins the whole plan. So now we have to switch everything up, and we already have plans to kill Luke. So, we gotta be creative on how her parent angle is revealed. So I think so much stuff happened within the films, within the change of directors, and also in real life, to where it's like, we gotta regroup.
Yeah,
let's run audible and throw the audience off track. But no, that's not her parents. That would be so underwhelming, and they put so much hype. They knew that was the biggest thing that the fans were waiting for. You're not going to make these guys some farmers who sold her for like all you could drink.
Yeah,
milk or something in a freaking spaceship. That's whack. And that's whack. And I think that's a reason I'm prefacing this. We're going to get into that section later. That's one of the problems that a lot of people had with this movie. Another problem that they have with this movie is this guy Snoke.
Yeah. That
they built up so much in that first film, and he's one of the wackest villains that I've seen in a while.
Yeah. He had no character arc, nothing. It's like you build him up in the first one, you have him be mysterious, you know what I'm saying? A la, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the way they build them up, it was sort of like the way the Avengers built up Thanos. It's just like you kept him in the background. You didn't reveal him too much because you knew, like, okay, come episode 8, come episode 9, that's when we're going to get, like, the real Snoke. So it's just like, okay, we don't need to see him that much in Force Awakens. Okay. Now here comes episode 8. Now it's like, okay, we see him in, full form, whatever, and then that's it. You just get a bunch of one-liners. You get a bunch of, just nothing really adding to the plot, really. You know what I'm saying? As much, because even like with his moments, I didn't really care. Like I knew he was gonna die. Like I knew Kylo was gonna kill him. So even like that moment wasn't that too impressive to me. And just his overall character arc was just bland. Like he was just one note. It was just like Steppenwolf all over again.
Tell me why you said Steppenwolf all over.
Nah, because it's just like the same thing. It's just like these villains are just fillers. Like they're not.
No, the reason I'm glad you mentioned Steppenwolf, because if you guys are gonna be not unfair, but if you guys are gonna raise your voice about the CGI and the DCEU and the mustache on the Man of Steel and Steppenwolf, you need to bring that same energy to Disney's front door as well, because
exactly.
He looked like he was on some Microsoft Paint at some moments in this film. Was it just me, or because I saw it in a Dolby theater, and I know that amplifies some things, but now I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? Why does he? Oh my God, did they run like the CGI artists go on strike or something? It didn't look good. So I didn't imagine that, right?
Nope, you did not. It was
all right,
bad.
Just making sure. I'm like, hey, bring some of that same energy, but that's one of the problems that a lot of people had. I would say that people kept saying that this film, they kept using the word different. It's a different Star Wars film. And the word different is what you say when you grew up.
Yep.
With the franchise.
Exactly.
And you don't want to say bad. Because the funny
it's not
thing is
a bad movie. They just don't like it for, like, they wanted their Star Wars movie. Same way with Man of Steel. Yes. Same thing.
Yes. I like this movie, but if I didn't, I'll be the first one to tell you, hey, this movie was whack. But the thing is, when Star Wars fans, Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings are typically honest because they mention their problems with The Hobbit. Star Wars is like the only group that I see that does this. When they don't like their movies, for the first 5 years, they'll call it, it's different. It's different. I'm like, no, just say it's whack. You don't like it. It's okay to say you don't like it. So I'm like, people kept saying different. And what's so funny is they were begging for a different movie because Force Awakens, the main criticism was, this is just a New Hope reincarnated. And now you've begged for a different movie. Now you get a quote unquote different movie and now you're upset. So let's go into the ratings. So on the site that should not be named, as of the morning of December the 16th, Star Wars The Last Jedi sits at 93% from critics and a whopping 56% from the audience. I typically agree with the audience. So I'm surprised. Question is, Hulk, are you surprised by those numbers?
Yeah, I'm shocked. But then, like you mentioned, once I really thought about it, and then I realized what we're dealing with, the Star Wars community is huge. It's probably the biggest community, out of, DC, Marvel, out of anybody. It's the biggest one.
I think Marvel's on his heels. Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
I think Marvel's on his heels.
All right. But,
I think Marvel came for international.
Because Star Wars, you got a bunch of baby boomers. You got millennials now.
I feel you, but I think when you leave the state, when you leave the country, I think it's a different story. And I think there's more Iron Man costumes than Luke Skywalker right now. That's just
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
I'm saying that's the new Star Wars.
Yeah, because domestically,
but you said. Yeah, but you said you're not surprised. Continue.
Yeah, because like when I first saw it, I was shocked. That's what made me scared. I was just like, damn, the critics again, they tripping. Like, come on, man. And then I was just like I was really down like for like that Thursday. And I was just like, damn. But then once I really thought about it, and then I saw like you said, I started hearing a lot of, it's different. And then I seen like the people that watch Force Awakens put statuses up like, yo, I love this movie. I was just like, okay, now I know what's going on. It's a lot of the older Star Wars fans, the one that grew up with the trilogy, the one that didn't really like the prequels, and also, like you said, wasn't really too big of a fan of Force Awakens. They not really feeling this movie because they wanted their Star Wars film to fit a certain mold. And in the fact that they didn't got that, that's why the score is so low. And then, like you said, the people that like Force Awakens, that people that like, J.J. Abrams' vision and like what they're doing with this new trilogy, they're the ones that, are keeping it afloat where it's not in like the 30s. That's why it's in like the mid 50s right now. So that's when
it's dropping like the 99 and the 2000. Like it's like a juvenile record. But I will say I was surprised originally, but then when I thought about it, I'm like, I'm not surprised, especially after seeing the movie. whether you're a loyal fan or not, there's certain things in the movie that I could get over, but I think a lot of people out there aren't. They're gonna have a hard time swallowing.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, say what you want to say about Force Awakens. A lot of people hate that movie, but a lot of those people, you can't find them. They're like closet haters because the audience score on the site that should not be named and the critical score, they're both high. So that's why it's hard for me to find people who hate that movie and verbally say it, you know, unless we're behind closed doors. So that's why I'm like, well, I can't really say that the people who like Star Wars The Force Awakens like this because the audience score is so out of whack. Mm-hmm. So I think some issues that people had, and I'll mention them, like personally, I didn't grow up with Star Wars, so keep that in mind. I didn't hate the movies, but it just wasn't my thing growing up. So yeah, I never really understood the appeal of the original trilogy. But some of the issues that people have with this film, I'm like, that was present in the original trilogy. I think you need to go back and watch it. Because some people didn't like the overacting. I'm like, did you listen to Han or Luke? and they overacted a lot. And to me, when General Hux talks and his overreacting and overacting, it's annoying at times, but that's also how a lot of the actors sound in episode 4 through 6, not to mention the overacting in episode 1 through 3. So that's one issue, but go ahead.
No, there was another issue with the comedy. That was like, oh, it's not as funny. I'm like, to me, this was just like a regular, like it didn't, to me, Star Wars movies are always like the comedic timing was just,
that's the funny thing because no pun intended, but a lot of people hated the humor in Force Awakens. So I thought that, like some of the jokes didn't land. That's probably what they were upset about. And some of the jokes went on too long. Like I thought when Poe was, playing that game, I thought that was funny, but then it kept going. And I'm like, this seems like this is some behind the scenes footage. The joke's over. I get it.
The timing was off.
Exactly. So another reason why I'm not surprised this film is not doing so well from an audience score perspective. It alienated a lot of fans. Like when you think of The Force Awakens, the mystery of Snoke and the mystery of Rey's parents were huge. Unanswered plot points.
I've never seen more blog posts in the history of my life than those two things. It was like a weekly, it's like Force Awakens ended, where it was just like every day it was just like a rumor, some Reddit kid or some, some idiot with a computer posting stuff.
And you're right. I can't think of another thing that garnered more fan theories ever. I really can't. So when you put that together with what happened in the movie, there was so much buildup, but the reveals were so anticlimactic in this film that was actually the funniest joke. So that had the worst comedic timing. I'm like, wait, that's a joke. I get it, but I'm the butt of your joke. I don't believe for a second that the revelation of Rey's parents is true. Like I really think that Disney cannot be that stupid, because if it's one studio that listens to their fan base the most, they won't admit it, but it is Disney. So I'm like, nah, Disney, y'all can't be that dumb to let Johnson do that. Nah, y'all can't be that stupid. And I think, I personally think, like I said earlier, Ben and Rey are twins, but Ben's memory was blocked. But since they killed Han, Leia's dead in real life, and they killed Luke. Yeah. Well, he committed suicide in the coolest way, by the way. So they just don't have their lack of actors is causing them to kind of improvise. Also, Snoke's supposed to be this evil menace, but he has the worst peripheral vision in the universe. So I thought that was underwhelming as well. So the only thing that I like about Snoke is the fact that it would have been better if they built him up to be a better villain, but it just makes Kylo that much cooler. Like
that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people are like, you're not Darth Vader. I'm like, he's not Darth Vader yet. Keep in mind, episode 1 through 3 is about Darth Vader. So he had some lame moments. And this guy, remember, Force Awakens and this, it's like a month that took place. So it's like in the span of 4 weeks, he's going through a similar arc like Darth Vader, but he's dealing with all these loss and all these questions in like 4 weeks. Exactly. Where Darth had all of his teenage years to deal with. So I'm like, they're shaping him up to be a bad A-word. And I actually like Kylo Ren. Yeah. So in 3 things that were promoted by the trailer and never lived up to the hype was the battle between Phasma and Finn, which was trash. Yep. 2 trash characters. Rey's identity, which is BS, and a better introduction to Snoke, which was laughable. So I don't expect these type of failures from Disney. I expect them from Fox. Maybe this week's acquisition of Fox had a stronger impact on Disney than we thought. So those alone, like, I'm able to get over some of that. But if you've been watching these trailers 3 times a day for the last 3 months,
yeah,
I would say it's fair that you're a little upset. Me, like I told you, I watched the trailer and I stayed away from it, Hope. So I'm like, well, I went in with zero expectation.
But that's
I'm fine. But I understand why there's an outcry, like people don't like this movie. So it's no surprise for me. But go ahead.
No, but these fans gotta learn. They keep I stopped making those mistakes a long time ago. Like,
you still make those mistakes.
No, I don't.
You can act all high and mighty now, but you thought Justice League was gonna be better than it was.
No. I'm not. Okay, I could still have. I'm always gonna be that way. If I feel if a franchise is that I like, I feel if I feel like the movie's gonna be good, I'm always hype it up. But at the same time, I don't get into like the fan theories. That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
no, but even fan theories alone, no, you don't need a fan theory to where you Rey's parents, they kept it a secret. Abrams kept building towards something. Every time her parents came up, it did a hard cut to the next scene to where that's obviously a secret. It's like, oh, they don't want me to know this because it's so important, it's so relevant. A lot of the fan theories that came out, I didn't care about. But one thing I did not expect was for you to tell me that, oh, it's some random guy named Bob. Bob and Jill had a baby in a manger, and they couldn't afford it, so they dropped her off in a dumpster. That's horrible. That's like some CW type plot line. Like, what is this? Like you can't be all high and mighty now, Hope. You gotta understand why people are upset.
It's
from
like,
that.
okay.
Snoke, gotta
Snoke,
understand why people
I
are
agree
upset
with.
about
That's
Snoke.
100. I agree with that without a doubt. But at the same time, if that's the way they want to do it, if they want to, and like you said, if they're saving it for episode 9, to me that's okay too. Like, because to me, watching this movie, I could tell they held back a little bit, and it was just like, okay, there's another episode coming.
Because Abrams is like, hey, don't touch my stuff.
Yeah.
Abrams like, don't touch my stuff, bro. Don't touch my stuff. But that's one thing you don't see from Disney, though. Remember, Disney is the same people who do the Marvel movies. And one thing's for sure, like, they want their movies to have some type of cohesion, and they always make directors work together. Like, hey, man, go talk to Jon Favreau real quick. John, I want you to go talk to, this guy. And this guy, I want you to go talk to this guy. And I want you to go talk to this guy because you guys are doing 4 movies at different times. And I want them to be cohesive. Josh was talking to the Guardians of the Galaxy director.
Yeah.
And and those guys were talking to the Russo brothers. So I'm like, why didn't they show that same type of implementation with Star Wars? So let me say one thing. All in all, I like the movie. It sounds like Holt liked it too. I think I'm able to forgive a lot of the flaws, but this isn't my franchise. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm not as invested as some of those guys are. And I say that to say this. I'm not surprised of the hate that this movie received because the novelty of Star Wars is wearing off. And what I mean by that is it's the same thing that happened with the Pixar films. It used to be mind-boggling for me to expect a Pixar film not to do good until I saw Brave. And then they came out with Dinosaurs shortly after. And I'm like, oh, you guys come out with a new movie every year. So it's not like I'm having to wait 3 years for these Pixar movies. That's why it's becoming whack to me. Like, I'm so used to it. So when the audience gets used to it, the magic wears off. And I think we're starting to see that with Star Wars. It's Star Wars fatigue. There's going to be a Star Wars film every year for the rest of our lives, I believe.
Yep.
So Disney will make money, but little by little, there's going to be a larger drop-off of the fan base. And low ratings like this is going to become something that's normal. It's going to become more common every film. So,
there was a crazy stat that I saw. There was just like, sorry, Cleveland Brown fans. There was just like, since last December, there's been 3 Star Wars movies, and then the Browns have only won 1 game. Since like the past 2 Decembers, there's been 3 Star Wars movies, and the Browns have only won 1 game.
Ah, man. So you're preaching to a guy who has Gordon on his fantasy team. So it's kind of weird. But yeah, let's nice segue. Let's go into this ranking. So when you couple episode 1 through episode 7,
Yeah.
how does The Last Jedi rank?
Okay.
I want to get to some of that, and we'll go one by one. We'll go in order, so meaning that we're gonna have Rogue One in the middle. So episode 1 first, The Phantom Menace. How does The Last Jedi stack up against The Phantom Menace?
Last Jedi's better.
I agree, it's better. I don't even think it's an argument, is it?
Nah.
Yeah, I think when everybody agrees on an opinion, it's safe to say it's a fact. Episode 2, The Clone Wars.
Last Jedi is way better. Way better.
Nah, it's Attack of the Clones, right?
Yeah. Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones is actually the worst Star Wars movie in my opinion.
Yeah.
But episode 2 probably the worst, like I said, in the franchise. I got The Last Jedi knocking out episode 2 in the first round. So episode 3, I think most people agree this is actually the best of the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
So Revenge of the Sith.
Still had The Last Jedi better.
Yeah, for me, The Last Jedi. So it basically swept the prequels. And just the acting in the prequels alone is enough for me to put The Last Jedi above all of those. So Rogue One, Star Wars truest, like the like that main core, those longtime fans, they love.
Yeah, they love it.
They love it, man.
Me personally, I go with The Last Jedi.
I go with The Last Jedi too. I actually hated Rogue One. So so that to me, it's like Disney's trying to like cater to two audiences, and this is what I the executive team for Disney isn't dumb. I think the anthology films are going to be for your Star Wars truists, like those guys. It's like, hey, let's make something something for the core fans, and I think that the films like Rogue One and I think the Han Solo film, you're going to see the same reaction. I think people who love Star Wars growing up are going to love that film, and I think people who love the new fans aren't really going to like it that much. So, yeah, but I think the new episodes, they're trying to really capture a new audience with that. That's the only thing that's probably making me think Rey might not be a Skywalker for real, because they're moving away from, the first 3 trilogies. Yeah. So Rogue One, hated it, didn't care about any of the characters in that film. So even if you hate this movie, you're still invested in the arcs of Leia and Luke. So those 2 folks alone are enough for me to give the trophy to The Last Jedi. Here's where it gets tough.
Yeah.
Episode 4, A New Hope.
I'm gonna go with The Last Jedi only because I just think I have more connection with these characters in a way, because this is like the first franchise, like the first trilogy that really got me into Star Wars. So I'm gonna go with The Last Jedi.
Coming from somebody who, like I said, I wasn't invested. The earliest Star Wars film that I had seen was I was in the 6th grade, and I saw A New Hope, and I actually liked New Hope as a kid. It's a long movie, but I felt like I give the nod to episode 4. To me, it's not close. I think the movie had heart in it and hope. Which they didn't have to preach a lot. Like they had to verbally say hope, hope, hope in The Last Jedi, because I other than the title in episode 4, you don't really have to beat people up over the head with the idea of hope, because I think it happens naturally. It's a great underdog story. So I'm going to put episode 4. Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
Nah, Empire Strikes Back is better.
Yeah, I think that's actually just because it has so much influence on Hollywood sequels. Like every time you make a sequel, you borrow elements from Empire, even if you don't want to. So I commend Disney for trying their hardest to avoid the Empire Strikes Back tropes. Because the worst criticism from fans of Force Awakens was, hey, this is a retread of New Hope. But like I said, fans got what they wanted, and they got a different Star Wars movie this time around, which made them irate. But episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, it's considered one of the best sequels of all time, and for a reason. So and just the reveal, I think they tried so hard not to be Empire, because the reveal was supposed to be close to I Am Your Father, but they really want to save it for the last film. So I'm going to put Empire. All right, Return of the Jedi, episode 6.
I'm gonna go with The Last Jedi.
Yeah, see with this one, the only reason Episode 6 actually has some of the lamest moments in the Star Wars franchise, but it also has some of the best moments. Like when Luke is facing his father. I think the scenes and the moments between Darth Vader, Luke, and you could even throw Sidious in there. I think they're more impactful than the moments between Rey, Kylo Ren, and Snoke, which I felt that scene, I probably appreciate it with time, but I saw it coming from a mile. And plus, he looked like a CGI character. It looked like Roger Rabbit graphics. And I'm like, Space Jam or something. So I was like, I don't know. Like for me, it's really tough. But just because I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment, and I'm going to say, okay, you know what? A year from now, if you ask me which one's better for the culture of Star Wars, which one was it's tough. This film, it loses the advantage because it's so new. So I'm actually going to put Return of the Jedi. And keep in mind, like I said, I didn't grow up with the franchise, but I still have the original trilogy ranked over The Last Jedi. So now, The Force Awakens, which really... That's when I actually became, okay, now you could, I like Star Wars. I like where they're going. Force Awakens did that for me. So what's up with Force Awakens? How does it rank?
Right now, as of now, I still put Force Awakens better. Like I'll see like how Last Jedi ages, but like just from what I'm thinking about it, like just rewatching it like over the past week, like I really like this movie. Like so I would say Force Awakens, like it's still better.
Yeah, I hate movies with long run times. No, correction. I hate it when films are long for no reason. And a lot of Finn scenes, like I said, they could have been cut out. The thing I like about Force Awakens, that movie, it's actually a long movie. It doesn't feel like it though.
Nope.
Because it just goes beat after beat after beat. Every scene has a purpose. They went to this planet to go get that. They went here to go get that. They went here to go get that. Keep in mind, Finn's mission was pointless because those escape ships got shot up anyway. So it's like he really didn't have to waste time like that. Rey would have found... Go ahead.
And sorry just to cut you off, but even that segue with Benicio del Toro, first you make him good because he gave back the pendant and he was just like, oh, he didn't really steal it. He was just... So it's like, okay, he's a good guy. And then you switch it up and make him bad. Like that
something happened with the movie, though. I think something happened with the footage of Carrie to where there's some elements in the movie where I'm like, yeah, I think they cut some stuff out. It didn't make sense. Like,
yeah,
not with him in particular, but there's moments where I'm like, when she's talking with Luke, and the fact that it's not the way they have the cameras on them to where it's not really showing the back of, you know, like when you have two people in the same scene, you show the back of one person's head while they're talking to the other. I think they had to stitch some footage that they weren't planning to use just to make the film work. That's why I think a lot of storylines were changed. And I think that's why you saw a lot of pointless scene with Finn is because, oh, we can't use this Carrie scene. Let's just make Finn run around for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Mr. Del Toro will apologize, but you're going to have to be whack. Originally, we wanted you to be awesome, but we want you to be like wiggity wiggity whack. So, like that was weird to me. I thought it was a joke. I'm like, this isn't serious. Am I watching a DC movie or a Fox movie? It's like, come on, Warner Brothers. I'm like waiting for April Fools somebody to jump out. I'm like, it's December, guys. So I'm putting Force Awakens. Those scenes are purposeful. It moves quickly. There's no stalling, and there's a lot of stalling in this film.
Yeah.
So some bright sides though, like just some. Let's talk about some moments that we missed. A couple of things that I love. I like the fact that he mentions the Jedi are vain, and to me, that's why I'm like, nah, they're not bringing Sam Jackson back. Sam Jackson don't need to be brought back, and actually, he deserved to die because they were very vain. Like they remind me of the Pharisees in the Bible.
Yeah,
like when Jesus was saying, no, like all y'all got the power to heal people. Yeah. It's not as long as you. And they were like, no, only special people could do it. I'm like, no, that's not the way the Force works. If you always telling somebody when they leave a room, may the Force be with you, but you want to be so territorial with that power, I don't like you guys as a group. But they always struck me as Pharisees. So I was like, oh, I like what Luke's on right now. And that whole light and dark side, the way he was training her, he was telling her to search her feelings. Where I'm like, oh, he really want emotions part of this training. I like that. But then she went into that black hole, and he was like, I'm tripping. But yeah, so I like the whole way where it's like, hey, no more teaching, just do it. Same thing you saw with Leia. Leia never got trained by Yoda, but you saw how she was gliding, like moonwalking in outer space. I was like, where did that come from? So I thought that was dynamic. You see little kids walking around. So that's the only thing that's making me think, okay, Skywalkers, it may be over. It may very well be, it may very well be over for the Skywalker name.
Yeah.
So
yeah, just to like piggyback on what you're saying, like and I'm gonna take it like with the Kylo Ren perspective, because even to me, that's what made me like him as a villain, because it made it so compelling. Because he was just saying, like, he made that speech to Rey, like, yo, let's do away with it all. No more Sith, no more Jedi, none of that stuff. Like, to me, that was a very
no, but you're missing that suffix of that argument that he brought up. Stand by my side and rule with me. That sounds a lot like what Darth Vader said to him. That's when I was like, at first I was like, I feel you, but then when he brought that up, I'm like, maybe not.
No, but to me it
Get
felt
out of there, Ray.
No, but even like his, I don't know. To me, the speech felt compelling. It was just like, yo, the Jedi, they be tripping. We know the Sith be tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just.
You sound like a Sith right now. To be honest. I never said that in my argument at all. I never said kill all them people. I never said that. I just said I understood where Luke was coming from. You jump off the deep end and you say, yeah, like they should kill everybody. Kill all the innocent people.
No.
And just let the bad people rule.
I'm not saying Kylo Ren was right. But it's just like I actually understood his premise. Like I understood his motivation.
You sound like a Sith.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
The only thing I like about Kylo, he and Darth, they didn't hide like Sidious did for years. It's like, no, I'm Darth. Everybody could know. I'm about to run for governor and all this stuff. But you trying to hide it right now. Like, no, I don't agree with him, even though I told you do.
I'm just saying, like I understand him. Like I understand his motivations. That's what I'm trying to say. Like it's just
semantics. Semantics, I guess. But and another thing was they had some people are going to feel one way about that fight scene, another people are going to feel another way. They show, and I was right about my prediction about Force Ghost being a major element in this movie.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And the fact that it drains so much energy out of Luke, but that last scene with him and Kylo was one of the best action sequence without anyone landing a punch I've ever seen. When Luke started gliding and hitting the Matrix on him, I'm like, that boy bad. Like that boy bad. And then when he's gone, but he's not gone. You will see Luke, and he's gonna have a major role in the third film.
Yeah, me too.
He's gonna be training, just like Yoda did him, training Rey, and probably training some other Padawans. But no, that whole scene was raw to me and made Luke, because I always was like, well, I don't understand why people like Luke over Vader sometimes. Because even though Luke fought him, like Vader wasn't in his prime. So I was always like, nah, Vader was actually that deal. And I've never really seen Luke do anything amazing other than that front flip he did in the Jedi, Return of the Jedi. So I was like, this made me like, oh shoot, Luke is bad. That was bad.
Yeah.
Like the way he was gliding and stuff, taking that machine gun to the face and just staying in one spot. Nice. I like that scene. A lot of people are going to be upset. I thought it lived up to the hype. I thought him having a similar exit as Yoda and as Ben, awesome from a biblical perspective. There's characters in the Bible where they said they were so graceful that they never really taste death. They never saw death. Enoch, for example.
Yep.
And I think Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, and Luke are similar to that. Like, nah, these guys actually, they live life the right way. And I'm hoping Luke's not the father, because if he's just abandoning his children like that, obviously he didn't live life the right way. But no, like these guys never really tasted death. They exited on their own.
Yeah. Like his whole character arc, like from the beginning was pretty cool. And I liked how they hinted like him, going dark, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause, but then they showed you why, which was pretty interesting.
For a split second. Yeah, it was like for a split second, but then the guy woke up at the wrong moment. So I get why he was upset. I felt him. I'm like, you're absolutely right, sir.
Yeah.
But they made when I thought this movie would have went in a different direction when they had him drinking the titty milk. I was like, that's actually pretty nasty, guys. What that? I don't know. Was that in there for a joke? Because I'm like, is that?
I think that's what it was supposed to be. I think it was supposed to be a joke.
That's a sick joke. That's not a joke, man. That's not a joke. Because I'm just like, wait a minute, is that considered humor? Because who wrote these jokes? Like some of that is little issues I had problems with. But, for the most part, I like the movie, and it's not going to take me 2 times to see it. I've been hearing people say, I'm just going to watch it for a 4th time and tell you how I feel. I'm like, bro, you like it.
Exactly, yeah.
It's okay to say you don't like a Star Wars film. These movies are not the God. So, to me, look at the way we ranked them. Like, on the bright side, I just watched the 5th best Star Wars film, so I'm not upset at all. And in Hulk's opinion, I think you had this ranked at 4 or 3.
3.
Check. Yeah, so you just watch your 3rd best Star Wars film. So I like the film, but after some reveals in the movie, I think it's safe to say that the franchise is about to enter a downward spiral. But who knows? So I'm really anxious to hear what you guys think. Go ahead and rank these babies in the comment section, or just tell me your dislikes or likes of the film. Tell me if you liked it, and you don't be shy. Like, stand by what you say. I don't want to hear that, oh, I'm not really sure yet. If you hate it, say you hate it. It's okay. I'm not going to judge you. And if you love it, say you love it. People will probably judge you, but okay, I'll stand by your side. So I'm anxious to hear what you guys think. So all in all, guys, it's about that time. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. Before you leave, if you like what you heard, share it with a friend on Apple Podcasts or anywhere you go for your podcast. Don't let this be the last time we hear from you or you hear from us. Support the show and become a sponsor by visiting our Patreon at www.patreon.com/CouchTomatoFilms. Also, join us next week and check out the show notes on where to find us weekly. It's Couch Tomato Films on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Couch Tomato Film on Twitter. Other than that, peace.